I can already sense the general energy that will populate my comment section in regard to this video as I'm recording it right now. And I'm sure, I'm going to try and publish it as soon as I can. Unlike, the first attempt. I'll clarify what I mean by that in a minute. I already know, given the release date is when I'm putting out this video. And as you can probably infer from those of you who watch my content pretty regularly, you can see the general environment and infer, without necessarily recognition of a specific filming date, you can infer that I'm filming this in the 2022 year. So I'm very behind when it comes to this movie, given that the film that we're looking at today, Brahms the Boy 2, the one that's centered here, debuted in 2020. The beginning of 2020. But the tail end of at least normality in the theater scene. This is one of the later films to come out right as COVID emerged. So it didn't really have that much of a long, sustained run in theaters. It was sort of like the blink of an eye. It was there and then it was gone. Like its two counterpart projects, The Invisible Man and the Fantasy Island movie, all three of which were in the horror thriller genre, and they were all debuting around the same time. In fact, a couple weeks apart from one another, and I really liked those release dates. And I've seen at this point, I haven't seen Fantasy Island yet. I know that one didn't have the best reviews. Kind of makes sense when you put the Truth or Dare people behind that movie, just saying. Even though the trailers I thought were fun. But The Invisible Man, great movie. I'm sure that one would have fared very well, apart from all the COVID closures. But Brahms the Boy 2, I know this one didn't fare the best either, I believe, in box office or reviews, but this is the one I was generally the most excited for out of the three. And it's the film I definitely wanted out of the three movies I'm mentioning to get my coverage up on. Because I did cover this originally. But as I've also made note of in coverage I've filmed, I'm not sure if the videos are out yet, and I'll certainly be making this known as well with other projects in the future. I've been saying for a long time I'm in a catch-up phase in regard to publications. There's a lot of coverage that I've produced, most of which is sitting on a hard drive right now and I'm working my way through editing, which is editing is such a long thing in itself. But with time, I've been able to salvage most of the recordings that I've done initially. But there's a bunch of projects in which the coverage that I've produced initially has become inaccessible. And so unfortunately, I'm not able to get my original coverage up, I believe, for the most part. Again, without going too much into detail, time has passed and a lot of the projects, for a variety of factors, have become inaccessible. Maybe one day I'll explain more in detail, but with much of the coverage I've offered, there's been a lot of casualties in regard to initial reactions. But I don't want to be dishonest as I sit here and be like, I've never seen the trailers before previously, which is why I'm offering this disclaimer. But I also will say that it's basically a fresh take, given that so many years have passed since 2020, and I've covered a lot in that time. The number of projects I've covered, some, get overlapped, right, and you start to forget about what you've seen. So basically, while I have to state that I did cover this previously, a while back, so much time has passed that basically we're going to, this is a refrain for me. It's, for all sensibilities, basically a fresh take. Other than maybe some general shots that I remember and the general energy I had going into the movie, maybe some of the comments I had in regard to my first coverage with it. Because I absolutely, like I said, out of the three releases that came out around the same time, Fantasy Island, The Invisible Man, and Brahms the Boy 2, this is the one I was looking the most forward to. I love The Boy. It's one of my favorite films. It's a much smaller film, the grand scheme of horror thriller movies. But it was my second film, I think it was the second one, in my introduction to the horror genre. I didn't grow up with it. I'm very conditional when it comes to horror films. There's a lot of, points I have in regard to contention of projects I don't necessarily want to see. Like a lot of stuff in the supernatural realm. I'm also not like a big torture, gore, or excessive gore type person. So I'm a conditional horror fan. I'm much more open to thrillers, though. But in me wanting to get an introduction, right, I started slow. The Sixth Sense was my first movie, I think, in regard to the horror genre. And then I was on Netflix one night, and I'm like, I'm looking around different projects, what I want to see. And The Boy popped up, and I watched a trailer a couple years before, when the film debuted. And I'm like, I've never seen that. Why don't I click on that one? And I was in for a very rewarding experience. The Boy is a film that I absolutely revere. It's one of the strongest, I will say, doll horror movies, and we've had quite a variety of those. But I really felt that Brahms made an impression on me. I mean, he's not like a sentient doll like Chucky. He's basically just a porcelain mannequin. But there was just something so engaging. He's one of the best realized dolls I've seen in regard to manifesting something very creepy and sinister. Brahms certainly had that presence, and the film itself was just such an enjoyable thrill ride, in large part because of the performances. And I am a bit grieved with this second part that Lauren Cohen and Rupert Evans did not return, because I thought the chemistry with both of their characters, I would have loved to see some follow-up on that. I thought their chemistry in the original movie was very good. There's a lot of reasons I have a lot of respect for that first movie. Maybe, The Boy is not necessarily the most revered horror release that's ever come out, but I loved it. I thought it was a very good film. So much so that it really hyped me up for the second sequel. And I don't usually do this, but in covering this movie, although again this is a bit of a different situation than I did cover it previously, like I said, but so much time has passed. But I did something I don't normally do, because I tend to wait in regard to movie purchases. I usually tend to rent the movie first. I'll get it from the library, I'll go see it in theaters to get a first impression, and then if I feel so inclined, it's a movie I like or am interested by, then I'll consider a purchase physically. I made an exception, and this has been sitting on my shelf for about a year. It was a local store. I think it cost me like $10 to buy a copy. This film better be good, because I have such a love for Brahms with the first movie that I was just game to watch it as soon as possible. So this has, again, been sitting for a while, and I've been waiting to watch it. But I've not been able to get the coverage out, and I've wanted to do that first. So, given that, like I said, this movie isn't not I would have ideally had a fresh take offered in February of 2020. But you work with what you have. So what I'm going to offer here is a crossroads between a familiar project and a beloved one based on its property, and a fresh take, even though it's not 100% fresh. With time and with how much of my life has gone by, you forget things. So basically, this is sort of like Brahms the Boy 2, the initial reaction, just not really. I mean, I've only been waiting for long enough to get this coverage up. I mean, this has been sitting again for a year. I've wanted to watch it so badly. But I'm like, I want to get my thoughts posted first. However, that I need to work with that, and with life. Here we go.
You want to take the doll away from him?
By the way, Christopher Convery, I'm excited to see him. Even though I did want the original cast to return,
Jude?
I love this kid. He's absolutely excellent in these films I've seen him in.
Gotcha.
It's fun to be scared sometimes, huh?
It's bad.
It's just a doll.
It's pretty violent.
Kid with a dark side.
I understand that some of Jude's behaviors would be upsetting, but I urge you to find a place where he feels safe.
I think it will be good for him. Good for all of us.
Oh my goodness, look at that.
Yeah, I remember my original feeling with the Heelshire house. I was like, yeah, that's so cool. I was nervous that they weren't going to go back there, but we would make it pick a new location. But no, that house is significant.
It looks like he was broken before and put back together.
Who's this?
It's seamless, too.
Brahms.
How'd you come up with that?
He had cracks at the ending of The Boy, didn't he?
Okay.
I think he did.
I just think it's all a little bit creepy.
I remember that slightly
What are some of the things you talk
from the
about?
initial watch.
The other families he's lived with.
Brahms is never sentient.
You want to take the doll away from him?
Yes.
It's just a week breakfast.
Something is happening to him.
He knew your boy would find him.
Very dark release.
Love you, Mommy.
I love you.
See, I love the first film so much. The idea of just getting a second go-around with it, even if it's slightly different, I'm just so happy with. Although I will say, it's weird for me with this movie. I mean, like I said, part of the beauty of this movie with Brahms was that he's not a sentient doll. There's no soul in him, right? He's just a porcelain space. So it's weird to see this, and even the first movie, I'm assuming you've probably seen the first film by now, and maybe the second one, given so much time has passed. I know, it's not the ideal, like I said, but your work of the circumstances life dishes out on you. The first movie, again, the sentience, or the lack thereof with the doll, made sense because, Brahms was real, right? Remember the big twist, and I thought the twist worked. It's weird, like, the doll's animated now. I mean, literally. I mean, there were shots where, in the first movie, Lauren Cohan's character, or Greta, was it Greta? I think that was the character's name. She was seeing things, right? She was seeing, like, in the one scene, the doll, moved its head or jerked it. That was a really funny scene, by the way. Minor story point. When I first viewed The Boy, never put your cell phone on vibrate when you're watching a horror movie, because when that scene popped up and you see the doll, like, she turns her head, or she turns Brahms' head, I think, and then Brahms, in the next shot, the shot cuts, and Brahms is instantly like, and there's that shocking moment, right? And then music comes on, it's really loud. My mother texted me, and I had my phone perched on a metal, so my phone's sitting on my laptop, which is sitting on top of a metal stand, so the vibration on my phone like caused this large ambient noise on the metal, and so it's like this really loud moment. It's like one of the most perfect overlaps between reality and film I've ever had. Really, really brought the experience to life. But never put your phone on vibrate when you watch a horror movie. Turn it off. Anyway, it's weird for me to consider with this movie. Again, in context, the original, the doll's not animated. So to see the shift is interesting, but I like the psychological bend quite a bit. And though, again, I would prefer the original casting of Lauren Cohan and Rupert Evans to return again for maybe a reunion piece of, we have to go back to the Heelshire house, with Brahms. We never want to go back there, but maybe we have to. I'm very happy with Christopher Convery. He's basically like the horror thriller Jacob Tremblay. I mean, for all the reverence Jacob Tremblay has, and he deserves it. I mean, that kid is a great actor as well. Christopher Convery, I've seen him in much more limited fashion. He's been very active in the TV space. He was in Gotham first. That was my first impression of him. And then he did play, this is probably, maybe, like, some of you are probably, I've never, not really seen Christopher Convery. He was on Stranger Things, actually. He was in season 3. He was the young Billy during the dream sequences. So he's made his way around a bit, and I really enjoy watching him. He's such a talented kid. I like this dark edge role, though. Again, like I said, he's sort of the thriller horror Jacob Tremblay, at least from my experience. Maybe he's done a broader range of films, and I'm not what I'm thinking of, but those are films I'm affiliated with him in regard to where I've seen him in familiar performances. The psychological cues with Brahms, dark kid meets dark doll, and the way the film cues that, like with this window shot, I mean, that's excellent. Him adopting like a Brahms. Oh, that's like the broken Brahms. Oh, that's... Wait a minute, are they like... I wonder if they're... like, what? Is this like the spirit of Brahms? That could be weird. Well, it did say the producers of The Boy and The Exorcism of Emily Rose. I mean, I liked the fact that it wasn't like supernaturally based with Brahms, even though you could have sensed that, or it could have been like paranormal in nature. Is there like a dual Brahms? Like, because I'm looking at Christopher Convery's character's mask here, and it looks like the Brahms from the first movie in what remained of him after he was shattered. But then there's this clean Brahms that's haunting everything. Maybe he's a different Brahms. Maybe there's two different dolls. Again, I've stayed away from spoilers, so I would not know. That's weird. I like the psychological undercurrent, though. Psychological horror's or psychological thriller films, namely big with me. Favored subgenre. I know the reviews are not as flattering for this movie, and I know it didn't necessarily have the best run. COVID, in part, is an explanation, but because that affected everything. I still see potential with this, though. As somebody, again, who's like, I haven't seen them film yet. And I'll say this as well. Even when I watched this, the first time, I didn't get all these cues in depth. Now I'm a little more puzzled by it than I was initially. I'm not sure, though, about the... I don't know. It's cool to see Brahms again. It's just such a weird depiction. It's different than the first movie. This isn't the Brahms I remember. There's a second trailer, though. Maybe this will give it more of an answer. Not exactly sure. It's a bit shorter. But I'll cue it up. It's fascinating, though. I mean, again, maybe it's just because of my love for the first movie, I'm brought in so deeply. Maybe people are like, watching this, it's not the most stellar horror film I've seen. I really liked the first movie. So, I don't know, maybe it's just me. And I'm into psychological stuff, so that, of course, rings a bell. But, I mean, I'm still really enticed by it.
Oh my goodness, look at that. That must be the main house. Come on, Jude.
Yeah, there is, I don't know, there seemed to imply there's some sort of supernatural, paranormal...
Brahms was never just a doll. To live again, he needs a friend. His deadly rules will never end. If you break them, it's best to pray. For Brahms wants more than just a play.
He's got a secret that only he knows.
Something is happening to him.
Love you, Mommy.
I love you.
Jude?
Brahms, the boy, too.
I'm still happy with it.
In theaters.
It's just weird to me to think through it.
13.
Because there wasn't this... Again, by the end of the movie with the boy, you felt the groundedness of it. There is a real, there's a change up in atmosphere with this movie. I mean, it's much more paranormal, I would say. Did Brahms regress? Because as far as I'm aware, real Brahms is still around. He was the one who repaired the doll, right? And the cracked doll is in part still here. Maybe the spirit of Brahms. Because the new one had to be dug up. There's going to be, I'm sure, some explanation. I believe it's the same people who made the first movie behind this one, so I'm sure there's some cohesion. I don't know, but... See, there's a lot of differences here. I'm still brought in, though. I mean, again, the psychological aspect, Brahms, just the doll itself, and Christopher Convery. Again, like I said, he's the horror Jacob Tremblay. I really like this kid. He's such a strong actor from what I've seen him in, and he seems to be the center of his story. I mean, it's maybe that's the idea that Brahms. Maybe that's sort of like the paranormal vibe that Brahms is manifesting from doll to boy, and that maybe that's the explanation for the first movie, that Brahms, that the doll has to exist. But sort of as a person, I don't know. Guesswork. I'm just happy that at this point I have a video to put up for the boy. Again, ideally, I would have had it up in 2020, but again, for a variety of factors, but I've clarified as to the best of my ability for now. Maybe not going into too much detail, but enough to give you a window that certain malfunctions took place in the realm of, I can't get the original video published. But I'm trying to do my best to fill in that void that maybe some of you felt. If you covered all those other pictures that aired in February, what about the boy? And that was my favorite of the three. Even watching this, again, like I said, it's basically a fresh take. I'm even realizing the more I think about it and maybe having certain triggered memories of what I said initially through covering this again and watching these trailers, there's I think I noticed more here. I don't know, again, it's more enticing. Maybe it's just because of my love for the boy. I absolutely love this movie. I love the franchise now, basically, because what this is becoming because of this movie. I mean, it could fare well, it might not, who knows? I mean, Hollywood does like to reboot horror projects, especially from, generations past or from years past, and try to see if there's still life in it. And now we had, the boy. Again, I really wish, again, I'd been on time for this, and I apologize that I'm not. But as I said, I'm in a big catch-up phase. But I've done my best, again, to fill the void that not only probably some of you felt, but that I had, and that I never got anything up for this movie. But those are my general thoughts of it. And now I can watch this and have it not sit on a shelf and be like, I want to watch this, but I need to get the videos up for it. Or at the very least, try to make it work given the circumstances. What are your guys' thoughts, though, with The Boy? And given I've apparently waited so long to get stuff out, what were your thoughts with it? If you did get the chance to see it in theaters before, the theaters all shut down around that time, what did you think? Did you have a fun experience? And if you were a Boy fan, where did it live in, reverence for you, or maybe lack thereof? I'd love to hear your general thoughts down below. Again, I'm enticed. As somebody who absolutely loved the first movie, I'm more in the game for a second round, even perhaps amid some interesting changes. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, there wasn't this sort of supernatural push with The Boy. I'm kind of sensing that. I'm enticed enough because of the movie. And Brahms himself is such a potent doll, in my opinion. Favored even before, Chucky, let's say. I'm not a big Chucky guy. I love Brahms. He's such a scary, yet infatuating doll, especially in the realm of horror, that even if maybe this film isn't the best reboot, I don't know, again, I've heard as much, but I'll let, my verdict of the film decide. I am still game for another round. I love Brahms, so of course I'm happy to jump on ship for a second film. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.